Hey, welcome back to edtech by Meera. And in today's tutorial, we are going to speak about return statements used in Python, how it is used, when it is used, with detailed explanatory examples. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's get started. Basically, what is a return statement all about? It is that particular statement which returns a value, and it is used in Python functions. And because of this method, what happens is when the return value is pronounced, when you use the return keyword, that moment it exits the function, terminates the function, whatever, and then passes a value back to the caller. So this is a short explanation of return. But let's see in detail what happens. Let's consider an example of a multiplication operation. So define multiply. So the name of the function is multiply with two parameters, num1, num2, where they are the two numbers being performed upon. Then you use a return keyword. So this is in the return method. So return num1 multiplied by num2. So what is this? This is the expression for multiplying the two parameters or two numbers accordingly. So the moment it says return num1 and num2 means the task is executed, and the task is executed, and you want to call the function and you want to send the result back to the person who called or to the caller, whatever you call it. Yeah. So next we create a variable called result, and then we call the function multiply with specific values 10, 70. You already know how to call function, which I explained in a previous tutorial. And after that you print result so that you can get to see the result on the console screen. But the return, you can see how efficient it is. It is the purpose of writing the return is for it to execute the task, for the function to execute the task and evaluate and execute the task, then exit the function, or rather terminate the function, and send back the value to the user. As simple as that, like shown here in this example. There you go. The multiplication has been performed. The value has been sent back to the caller of the function, that is myself in this case. Yeah. So this is the simplest of example. You can see why you're using the return in this particular manner and when to use. Like you can see here, the return keyword, the method rather, is used right inside the multiply function, not outside. Had you written it outside, that's why you can see the indentation. If you write it outside, it doesn't work. It has to be written inside, mind you. Okay. So let's consider more examples. So throughout this tutorial, I'll be giving lots and lots of examples where I will be coding the result using the return method. So this is just to get a hang of it, and you guys can keep practicing this in your code editor, either side by side or once after you finish the tutorial, and you can rerun it every time you get stuck. So you have to do more examples in order to understand. Then let's consider another example where you're working with a function. You're creating a function called check with parameter number. So here it's like, I want to check, why do I call it check? Because I want to check if the number provided is 0, greater than 0, or less than 0. Obviously, if any particular number is greater than 0 means it's a positive number. If it's less than 0 means it's a negative number. And if it's 0 means it's 0, of course. So accordingly, I make the if else loop. So if number is greater than 0, I want the function to return a string called positive. If the number is less than 0, I want the function to return a string called negative. Else, the last choice, if the number equal to 0, or just say else, I want the function to return 0 as in string zero. That's cool. You already know the if else. We've used that in I haven't done a tutorial on this, but I've done some projects on the if else loop in Python. I'll be doing a separate tutorial also on this loops later on in another week. Okay, so now you know you already used the if else conditional loop inside the check function. Now I want to call the function by calling check whatever number, either 0 or something positive 7 or something negative -5, for example, something like that. I want to call the function and then I want to print it. So here it is done simultaneously. You can either call first and then print, or you can do it simultaneously to save time. So print, then call for the 70 number, then see, run the program, you will see it's positive. So because you did your return method and your return keyword, it's helping you in analyzing the number that is provided, the data that is provided. It will go through all the loops, analyze and decide which is the correct answer, and it will give you the answer based on the conditional statements that you provided. So this is how return is doing the work here. And as you can see, when you just checked for 70, it will go through all the conditions and it will return you the value that applies to the data given. If you give a positive number, it will go through all the conditions and then it will only return you the value that is associated with the number provided. Keep that in mind, like you can see here. When you gave 70, it provided the reply as positive. When you provided -55 as the data, it gave you the result as negative. And when you give it as 0 value to check for, then it will give you the 0 string as the return value. So basically, the return method will provide you the value after analyzing the conditions in this particular case and the data, and then only it will return you the value back to the caller. That is, in this case, I'm calling the function, so it will return back to me. So that's clear until now. So let's go through some more examples. So all the examples will be slightly different from each other, so that you have several case scenarios where you can try and test out the return method. And of course, this is a tutorial meant for Python beginners, neither intermediates nor advanced people. So I'm sorry if one of you is in advanced level or intermediate level and you find it boring because you already know about it, then I'm sorry, because my tutorial in this case is only meant for Python for beginners. Of course, as an advanced person, if you want to refer to it, I'm not going to stop you from that. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. I just want to make sure that you don't get bored if you know more than this. Okay, so I showed another example here. Let's see what's happening. Now you see here, in the second example, I didn't write the return keyword. Then what happens by default? If you don't write the return method, show it there in the code, then by default, it will return you the value of none. And even if you write return without any value, because usually you're supposed to return what? Here, as you can see, define my function. In the previous case, I didn't say return at all. So it provides me with a none on the console. Let's consider some more examples. So the function called isTrue. Now here, this one, the return can also provide you Boolean values. So in this case, the function that is used, name is isTrue. So I want to return a Boolean, bool short for Boolean. I want to return a Boolean for this particular parameter, which is a number. Yeah, so let's see how it's done in this case. So I want to call for isTrue as a particular number. And then I will save it in a variable called result. Create a variable called result. I'll save it in that. And then I'll call for isTrue 4 less than 5. Now this, or 4 less than 3, whatever in this case. So, or maybe 4 less than 2, whatever, that depends on you. So I make a statement in an argument 4 less than 2. And I want to check. I want to see the result. What is the return value to me? Yeah, so print the result. So I want to know what is a return method returning to me, the Boolean, true or false. I want to know that. There you go, false. So that's correct. Because 4 is not less than 2, right? and you already said you want to know the is true. You want to return a Boolean value. That means Boolean value means you want to return whether true or false. Now if I reverse it and I say 4 greater than 2, there you go. They are returning, the function is returning me the Boolean value true. So this is another case example where you can use return to get a Boolean value and check whether this particular statement is false, true or false. So this is another usage of, so through these examples you will know how it applies in different scenarios, different case scenarios. So that's the idea of providing you with these examples, because all these case scenarios may come up while you're doing Python project. So that's the reason I'm citing you several examples. Okay, so let's consider another example. Now here you want to like return like multiple values. Return method can also provide you multiple values. So let's see how it's done. So define my pet count. So my pet count is the name of the function, right? And then return, I want to return multiple values, 2, 4, 7. I want to know whether it can return the multiple values. Then print my pet count. So here I'm not giving any parameters. It can be without parameters also. So let's see what is returning to me, the caller. There you go, 2, 4, 7. So it can give you multiple values also, it can return. I'll be doing several such tutorials, but do let me know if any particular concept you want me to teach in a particular video. Let me know in the comments below. Now I want to know remember the type of data you can get by writing the type function. So I write type and then the name of the function. There you go. So 247, the result that you get, the multiple values that you get in the result, that is held in a tuple format. So that one you can figure out every time, not only this, in any case by using the type function. That's an inbuilt function in Python. Okay, let's consider more examples. I've done a short tutorial on tuple, but I'll be doing a detailed one later in a different week. Okay, so I want to consider more examples, and this one I call the function my function with and the parameter num stands for number. Okay, here I want to perform an operation, arithmetic operation, not surgical, haha. Okay, whereby I want to find the square of numbers and cube of numbers. Yeah, so num, in this case it's num. So given a particular number num, I want to find the square of that number, and I want to find the cube of that number. So I can perform that operation by writing return, then the expression, and then followed by creating a variable called result, and then whatever value I get by calling the function, I store it in result. So I call the function by saying my function, and then let's say 4, because that's a specific number for which I want the result, and then store it in the result, and then I print the result. Yeah, so this is exactly the explanation for this code block. That's why I'm explaining it line by line. Yeah, then print the result. So now what is return method doing to me? Okay, there's a mistake here, sorry for the typo. I did extra asterisk. For cubing it, there should be only double asterisk in both the case. By mistake, typo, I did 3 asterisk. Yeah. Okay, should be fine now. There you go, 16 and 64. So it was able to square the number and cube the number and provide me the result. So now you see the value of using the return. It's providing me the value after evaluating, after performing the operation. It is sending me back the value of the function when I call the function. So that's quite convenient, right? Makes the function go so smooth and efficient. Then here, that was for squaring and cubing. You can also use for adding, subtracting, multiplying. I already showed earlier, dividing, etc., etc. But just to give you one more example, all simple examples here. So define add function with two parameters a, b. Now here, return, I want to return an expression a plus b. This a plus b or a multiplied by b is called the expression in Python. So expression, then output, I create a variable called output and I call the function by calling add 16, 7 for these two numbers. A is 16, B is 7. I call the function and then the result I add it, I store it in the variable output. Then I print output. Or that is one way of doing, or you can also say another way of printing, which I showed you in my printing tutorial last week. That was the string formatting. So this way also you can do. That is the string F format. So F, then using the string, output is the curly braces output. Output is a variable. If you write the curly braces I told you earlier, then the actual values will get replaced in the placeholder. Will get filled in the placeholder, sorry. Okay, I did an indentation mistake. So I need to fix that. As you can see, the define, that one is gone. That is one indent extra. So it has to go, one indent forward by mistake when I type. So it has to go one indent backward. Now there are two ways. One is return a plus b, that is expression, or you can also have result equal to a plus b and then return. That's up to you. Return the result. There are two ways. Either you can return straight away the expression or store the values of a plus b in a variable and then return that. That was, I was just showing you the two ways of doing the return, and I haven't still fixed the indentation. Sorry about that. There you go. Should be fine. Now it should be fine. For those of you who are already staying subscribed, thanks a lot. And for those who are not yet subscribed, do remember to smash that subscribe button and the bell button so that you're immediately notified as and when I publish my new tutorial, weekly tutorials. Okay, so I want to consider more examples. Here, my function return no value. Usually, there has to be some value. Return what? Right? Some expression or some value. And then after that, I'm calling the function and printing it straight. what happens? There you go. You get none. As I mentioned, if you don't mention return, then also in the result you get none. If you mention return but no value, like return result, return expression, something like that, somewhere. If you don't write that as well, just a keyword return only without a value name, then also by default you will get in the console none. So this was just to show you that example. So let's consider more examples. By now, I hope you're not bored seeing lots of examples, but trust me, in the beginning, it's always better to try out different examples and do it by yourself. You must, after watching the tutorial, just close the tutorial and do it by yourself in your code editor. If you get stuck, just open the tutorial, watch again, and then do it again. Or you can do it alongside by making the speed lesser. That's up to you. But would be better if you do it without see, just watch it once and then do it without watching and then come back to it several times. It really makes sense to practice a lot because this is your foundation, which is very important. Okay, then I consider another function called myNumber with a parameter of n. So where n is considered a number or an integer. So now I'm giving the condition here. If n% 2, you know that, right? That means like even numbers. Even numbers will not give a remainder, right? So if it is an even number, if the remainder is 0, then you return even. But if the remainder is not 0, because odd numbers leave a remainder. So in that case, return odd. This is a condition. And then you create a variable called result and store the values of the called function for any particular number. Let's say 7. So you want to call the function for myNumber 70 and then store the result, all the values in the variable called result after creating result and then print out the result. This is a standard way that you show the return statement in a function. Even, right? Because if you try for even number, it will show you even. If you give the data for odd number, it will give you odd. Because 70 is definitely an even number, right? 70 doesn't leave a remainder when divided by 2. Okay. Consider more examples. So as you can see, in different examples, it's a different scenario. So that's why I'm giving varied examples so that you don't get confused later. It's always better to work with more examples so that in your project, you have everything covered, all the notes covered. And some of my documentation also I have I've written in the detailed blog posts. I'll be mentioning the links there in the description below. Then another function, my function here. Now here it is returning directly the expression 3 plus 3. So this is called, when you say 3 plus 3, 2 plus 3, a plus b, that is called an expression. It could be multiplication, division, whatever. So it's returning straight away that. You are not storing it any other variable when you're returning. Okay, so then you want to call the function directly after that, after returning, of course, because as you can see, after return is inside, but print is outside the function. Yeah, so print my function. It's already 3 plus 3. So what should be the value? It should give you the value in the console should be 6, right? It should return to the user 6 straight away when you call the function and print. Yeah, there you go. It's 6. So this is another method of doing the return statement. So now you know all different ways that you can do and different examples that you can do and use the return. But there are some more to come, so wait until the end of the tutorial. Don't go away because there are more to come and all of them are different. So stay tuned until the end of it. So you saw what I was trying to do was, if you saw, I was doing the print statement inside the function right after return. It didn't give me a value. So this is one important thing to remember. When you're calling the function and when you're printing the function value, you have to exit the function because automatically when you do the return statement, it will exit and terminate the function. So if you write the calling of the function and printing of the function inside the function right below the return method, it will not work. So that's why I showed you that example. That was a wrong example, so I showed you. So then after that, I relocated the calling and printing. I took it back to the outside of the function. Okay, now this is another example where you can return a function from a function. You can return one function from another function using the return method or the return statement. So let's see how it works. So define external function. Just calling it external, you can have any other name also. So one function which is outside one, so I just call it that way for understanding for the sake. So define external function, or func, I mean short in this case, and then inside that one more function, internal function. But mind you, you can call it any other way. Just for the sake of tutorial, I'm doing it this way. And then return. Now return hello friend from interior function. Internal, sorry. I mean, just ignore the spelling. This is for the sake of technical example only. So just ignore the spellings and the typos. Okay. So what I'm trying to say, the return statements, focus on the return statement where it is used. So first one function outside, inside that one more function, and inside that second function, you have a return statement. And then you have one more return statement, which is inside. So inside the first one. The first one is inside both. The second one is inside the first one. And then you want the second statement says return internal function. Just an example to show. And then we want to see what happens. Remember that hello string was written inside the internal. And this return internal function is used inside the external. So let's see what is happening here. Then you store the values of the external function inside myfunc, and then you print myfunc. Like we usually do, we store the values in a variable and then we print out. Let's see whether it is able to grab the message from the inside function. Oh, some typo mistake. Let's see. There was a spelling mistake. because I wrote the whole word function, whereas I had named the initial function as func, if you remember. So you have to stick to the same name. By mistake, if you change the name, it will show a bug. So to maintain the consistency of the names of the function, the variables, everything. Yeah. So that's how, because that was a mistake. Yeah, in the naming, name consistency. There you go. Hello, friend from the interior. So it was able to grab the message from the other function and give you the result. So this is returning one function value from the other function. You can use this by using the return statement or the return method. So now you know what is a return method, how it is able to return the values to the user upon calling and terminating the function. Now you know it can return multiple values, and now you know it has to be used inside the function and not outside the function. And now you know that it will terminate right after returning the value. And now you know what all case scenarios it can be used. So this is the importance of using the return method, and it is very important that you understand the method by which it is used, because it is very valuable for a smooth and efficient functioning of Python functions. And you have to know where all it has to be used, how it is used, like the way I showed in the examples, and that it can return multiple values, or it can return multiple times. Yeah, and it can, if not used properly, like just return without a value, it will give you a none. Or if you forget to write return also, it will give you the value of none in the console. Yeah, and you can use the return multiple number of times in a function. So basically return method is all about this, and it is really very valuable for using in Python functions. Yeah, hope you understood. Until we see you in the next, and do comment, if any, in the comment section below, yeah, for any other concept you want to learn and how you found this tutorial.